happens in a man's life is already written. Man must move through life as his destiny wills.
Gender, the state of being male or female, typically used with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones.
I know young women who are under so much pressure from family, from friends, even from work, to get married, and they're pushed to make terrible choices. A woman at a certain age who is unmarried, our society teaches her to see it as a deep personal failure. And a man at a certain age who is unmarried, we just think he hasn't come around to making his pick.
I know personally in Western culture, everybody wants you to get married and have kids, and you always hear the grandmothers and the aunts, and even my father would say, where's my grandchild, where's my grandchild? So, or when you're gonna get married, or the common thing, oh, you're so pretty, you know, how come you don't have a man yet, and how come you ain't getting married? Is something wrong the matter with you?
Out of 100 of my friends, 85 is single. 85 is single.
Oh my God, she is such a slut. What a slut! What a slut! S-L-U-T, slut. S-L-U-T, slut.
Teenagers are influenced by the sexual images they see. Miley Cyrus's twerking was certainly shocking, but she got more criticism than the man on stage with her, perhaps mirroring the double standards noted in the Commissioner's report, that girls who have sex are sluts while boys get praise. We put that to a group of 13 and 14-year-old girls.
Boys really don't get labelled the same that a girl would, so if a girl slept around, then everyone would call her a slag and everyone would start being judgmental about her. But if a boy did, from his friend's point of view, I think they'd probably have some, not respect, but some type of I guess respect for him.
Yeah, I think it is all the girls get labelled if they do sleep around, and the boys just get congratulated if they done it, and it makes the girl seem so easy when they're really not.
Here's some excellent news, ladies. The sexual double standard, you know, the one that gives men points for sexual experience and gives women demerit points for the same experience. Well, it's been completely erased. Unfortunately, only in the minds of women. You see, research shows that men still believe in the sexual double standard. And as hard as feminism has tried, and Helen Gurley Brown tried with the sex and single girl idea, and all the fashion magazines tell us that we can and should have sex exactly like a man, the truth is you will never be able to reprogram a man's brain.
I lost my virginity my freshman year. About 6 months later, we broke up, and he told some people. For some time, I was the topic of everyone's conversation. I was called every name in the book, while he, on the other hand, was quote-unquote the man. We teach girls shame. Close your legs, cover yourself. We make them feel as though by being born female, they're already guilty of something.
And then we do a much greater disservice to girls because we raise them to cater to the fragile egos of men. We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful. Otherwise, you will threaten the man. If you are the breadwinner in your relationship with a man, you have to pretend that you're not, especially in public. Otherwise, you will emasculate him. But what if we question the premise itself? Why should a woman's success be a threat to a man? We do a great disservice to boys in how we raise them. We stifle the humanity of boys. We define masculinity in a very narrow way. Masculinity becomes this hard, small cage, and we put boys inside the cage. We teach boys to be afraid of fear. We teach boys to be afraid of weakness, of vulnerability. We teach them to mask their true selves because they have to be, in Nigeria speak, hard man. The more hard man a man feels compelled to be, the weaker his ego is. But by far the worst thing we do to males by making them feel that they have to be hard is that we leave them with very fragile egos. And this is how to start. We must raise our daughters differently. We must also raise our sons differently.
Rice was charged with assault after he was captured on hotel security cameras dragging his unconscious fiancée out of the elevator. The event took place at Atlantic City's Revel Casino in the early morning hours on February 15th. It's hard to say how the couple's Valentine's celebration started out, but Ray Rice and his fiancée, Janae Palmer, would both be in handcuffs by the end of it. The argument likely continued to escalate as they made their way to the elevator. Holding on to those good guy tendencies, Rice possibly insisted that Palmer go first into the elevator. Palmer was also arrested, and police released a statement saying surveillance footage showed both parties were involved in the physical altercation. It likely didn't take much effort for the 220-pound Rice to knock his bride-to-be out cold. Damn, son, why'd you do that?
Now, men and women are different. We have different hormones, we have different sexual organs, we have different biological abilities. Women can have babies, men can't. At least not yet. Men have testosterone and are, in general, physically stronger than women. There's slightly more women than men in the world. About 52% of the world's population is female. But most of the positions of power and prestige are occupied by men. The late Kenyan Nobel Peace Laureate Wangari Maathai put it simply and well when she said, "The higher you go, the fewer women there are." In the recent US elections, we kept hearing of the Lilly Ledbetter Law. And if we go beyond the nicely alliterative name of that law, it was really about a man and a woman doing the same job, being equally qualified, and the man being paid more because he's a man. So in a literal way, men rule the world. And this made sense 1,000 years ago. Because human beings lived then in a world in which physical strength was the most important attribute for survival. The physically stronger person was more likely to lead. And men in general are physically stronger. Of course, there are many exceptions. But today we live in a vastly different world. The person more likely to lead is not the physically stronger person. It is the more creative person, the more intelligent person, the more innovative person. And there are no hormones for those attributes. A man is as likely as a woman to be intelligent, to be creative, to be innovative. We have evolved, but it seems to me that our ideas of gender have not evolved.
Outside of the world of stand-up comedy, are men and women really that different?
Not according to this new study, which suggests that we're pretty much exactly the same.
Hey guys, Lacey here.
And Trace, and seriously, the jokes about how men and women are different can finally be put to rest.
That's right. A new study released this week in the Journal of Social Psychology found that men and women aren't from Mars or Jupiter or Venus, and that we're both actually from Earth.
But if we're not from Mars, that's like my only shot to get to go there. We're not saying that men and women are exactly the same. I mean, there are obviously physical differences like hip to waist ratio and whatnot. We're talking psychologically, where we're actually pretty similar.
Yeah, the researchers at the University of Rochester analyzed 13 published studies and then compiled it with their own data for 122 different characteristics, from empathy to extroversion, scientific inclination to sexuality. The statistical analysis of over 13,000 individuals found that gender stereotypes aren't really entrenched in our lived reality.
So, for instance, women were not significantly more intimate in relationships, men weren't overwhelmingly more scientifically inclined, and so on. Gender can be a predictor of stereotypes, but these psychologists suggested that the ideas are socially encouraged through a reward and punishment system, approval, disapproval. On some social level, we expect to see behavior based on gender, so in our mind, we make it happen.
Another foundational tenet in the field of human sexuality is that people, gender, and even sex don't fit neatly into little boxes. People are complicated. Women exhibit masculine traits like being assertive and competitive and demonstrating leadership, and men exhibit feminine traits like being domesticated, nurturing, and empathetic. Both genders have both characteristics. It's just sort of a continuum. And like the researchers said, it's not really categorical, it's more a matter of degree. So Trace, what do you think about this groundbreaking revelation?
Well, even in this study, they found overlap. Like you said, it's not that women are displaying man traits or men are acting more woman-like. It's more that we think that might be what's happening, but in our heads, we're just overlapping all the time. We're just being human-like, human ish.
When you think about it, those characteristics are sort of arbitrary anyway. They're human characteristics.
Absolutely.
So we realize that for some folks, this kind of research is controversial, and for others, it's common sense. So we want to know what you think about it, if you have any thoughts in your brain.
And make sure you subscribe to D News so you can get all of our awesome videos, 2 a day, every day of the week. So thanks for watching. See you later.
Gender and class are different forms of oppression. I actually learned quite a bit about systems of oppression and how they can be blind to one another by talking to black men. Gender matters. Men and women experience the world differently. Gender colors the way we experience the world. But we can change that. Some people will say that a woman being subordinate to a man is our culture. But culture is constantly changing. I have beautiful twin nieces who are 15 and live in Lagos. If they had been born 100 years ago, they would have been taken away and killed because it was our culture, it was Igbo culture to kill twins. So what is the point of culture? I mean, there's the decorative, the dancing, but also culture really is about preservation and continuity of a people. In my family, I am the child who is most interested in the story of who we are, in our traditions, in the knowledge of ancestral lands. My brothers are not as interested as I am, but I cannot participate. I cannot go to Munnan meetings. I cannot have a say because I am female. Culture does not make people. People make culture. So if it is in fact true, so if it is in fact true that the full humanity of women is not our culture, then we must make it our culture.
As a result of these standards, each gender is restrained and restricted to a certain lifestyle which is deemed acceptable by society.
I am a feminist. And when I looked up the word in the dictionary that day, this is what it said. Feminist, a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes. My great-grandmother, from the stories I've heard, was a feminist. She ran away from the house of the man she did not want to marry and ended up marrying the man of her choice. She refused, she protested, she spoke up whenever she felt she was being deprived of access, of land, that sort of thing. My great-grandmother did not know that word feminist, but it doesn't mean that she wasn't one. More of us should reclaim that word. My own definition of feminist is, a feminist is a man or a woman who says, a feminist is a man or a woman who says, yes, there's a problem with gender as it is today, and we must fix it. We must do better. The best feminist I know is my brother, Kene. He's also a kind, good-looking, lovely man, and he's very masculine. Thank you.